look at the 2026 mid-year budget presentation as minority insists the presentation lacks hope for the many Ghanaians who are looking up to the NDC for job opportunities. Also, tension mounts at the Ejisu Municipal Assembly as assembly members push for a vote of no confidence in Municipal Chief Executive Jerryne Asante. Also coming up, devastating rainstorm has claimed the life of a 12-year-old girl and left dozens of families homeless in Yendi Municipality of the northern region. Let's now settle for news details. The minority in Parliament has rejected government optimistic assessment. And speaking, Dr. Amin Adam, the ranking member of Finance Committee, criticized this budget reading by the Finance Minister.
Can best be described as talk more, do little government. Because the review has confirmed our description of the original budget, the 2026 budget, as having only bones, no meat. And for that matter, can best be described as Koshiako budget. The minister tried his best to do what he does best, propaganda. But his own data gave him out. His own data showed that the honeymoon is over. They are now faced with the reality because this budget is empty. And because it has no meat and they have no story, again, the minister resorted to blame game. They've been doing this blame game from the time they assumed office in 2025. And after 18 months in government, they are still doing blame game. The Ghanaian people voted for them to deliver just that and not to blame the previous government. But as you all heard from the minister's address, there is nothing to tell the people of Ghana. I will point out to you some of the confessions the minister made. Confessions in respect of issues they disputed last year and early this year. I will also point out some inaccuracies in the presentation, as well as their failure to implement some of the programs they promised the people of Ghana. Number one is on the issue of reserves, international gross reserves. Most of you were in this parliament when the minister brought the reserve management policy. They call it accelerated reserve management policy to this house for parliament to approve.
And that was ranking member of the Finance Committee in Parliament. Now, 19 months after taking office, the Mahama administration says Ghana's economy has undergone a remarkable turnaround from what it describes as an economy in crisis inherited in January 2025 to one showing strong signs of macroeconomic stability and renewed investor confidence. Presenting the 2026 mid-year budget review in Parliament on Thursday, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiala Toforsen painted a picture on the economy that, according to government, has moved beyond emergency stabilization and is now laying the foundation for sustained growth. The minister reminded Parliament that the new administration inherited soaring inflation, a heavily indebted economy, weak investor confidence, large fiscal imbalances, and severe pressures on the city. He argued that difficult but necessary fiscal discipline measures introduced over the past 18 months have begun yielding measurable results. According to Dr. Forsen, inflation has fallen sharply The cedi has remained relatively stable. Interest rates are easing. International reserves have strengthened. Government has exceeded its fiscal targets. And for the first time, Ghana's economy has surpassed the $100 billion mark in size. He said these gains demonstrate that prudent economic management is restoring confidence in the economy.
Mr. Speaker, this administration assumed office. When this administration assumed office, it moved swiftly and decisively to stabilize the economy and begin the work of national reconstruction. It was immediately clear that the old model of managing the economy had failed, and Ghana did not need incremental adjustment, but it needed structural reforms. We therefore took difficult but necessary decisions which were neither politically convenient nor painless. These decisions demanded our collective sacrifice, Mr. Speaker, but they were necessary to restore stability and rebuild confidence. Right Honorable Speaker, the progress Ghana is recording today did not happen by chance. Some have suggested that our recent macroeconomic gains are simply the product of good fortune. Others have attributed the recovery solely to the debt restructuring program or the IMF program inherited in 2025. But Mr. Speaker, I firmly disagree. Our recovery is as a result of superior economic management. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, I firmly disagree. Ghana's recovery is as a result of superior economic management. Debt restructuring may create fiscal space, but it does not create fiscal discipline. Right Honorable Speaker, an IMF program may provide a framework, but it cannot substitute for sound policy, disciplined implementation, and political will. Sustainable economic recovery is built on good policy choices, competent economic management, and disciplined execution, and most importantly, courageous leadership. Mr. Speaker, the evidence before us is overwhelming. Ghana's recovery has been driven by a deliberate program of economic reforms implemented since President Mahama assumed office in January 2025. These reforms have strengthened public financial management, restored fiscal credibility.
Still on the budget, looking ahead, the finance minister says government will maintain fiscal discipline while accelerating investment in infrastructure, agriculture, industrialization, job creation, and its flagship 24-hour economy program. He assured Parliament that the gains achieved so far would not be reversed and pledged continued support for social intervention programs while keeping public debt on a sustainable path.
At the end of June 2026, domestic debt accounted for 54.4% of Ghana's total public debt portfolio, while external debt accounted for 45.6%. On the 17th of February 2026, government honored the 6th domestic debt exchange program coupon payment of 10.1 billion on time and in full. Mr. Speaker, the 7th DDEP coupon payment of 10.8 billion cedis falls due on the 18th of August 2026. Let me use this opportunity to assure this House that it will be paid on time and in full. Mr. Speaker, since January 2025, government has paid a total of $2.1 billion in principal and interest to Eurobond holders without placing undue pressure on Ghana's foreign exchange reserves. Right, Honorable Speaker, there was a time when the world doubted us. Today, every payment made on time.
That was Dr. Kasel Atoforsen, the finance minister. Well, there have been more reactions on the media budget. The executive director of the Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Partey-Anti, says government may not be able to end the double track system in senior high schools by 2027 as proposed. His comments follow government's announcement of a $300 million World Bank-backed facility under the transformative secondary secondary education for access, results and relevance for jobs. That's the Star J project. And the project is expected to support investment in secondary education infrastructure and help government phase out the double track system by 2027. But speaking on 3FM Sunrise, Dr. Peter Party Anti questioned whether the available infrastructure and the scale of the interventions planned can deliver the government's 2027 target. He argues that the double track system cannot realistically be brought to an end within the proposed time frame, raising concerns about the capacity of government to accommodate the growing number of students under a single track system. Dr. Partanti has therefore called for a more realistic timeline and sustained investment in infrastructure if government is to permanently resolve the challenges associated with the double track system.
If you listen to the Minister of Education and even the Minister of Finance, the focus is to use that facility from the World Bank to deal with infrastructure challenges at the secondary education level, and we think that is a good. That's a step in the right direction, because our secondary education have been engulfed with a lot of infrastructure challenges, and that is what led to the introduction of the double track. The only challenge there is that it looks like that particular facility would have to run its full course before you be able to eliminate double track. So when the conversation is limited to that facility helping us to eliminate double track, and the date, the year 2027 comes into discussing, it becomes a little bit confusing, because the facility is supposed to last up to 2030, and that is when the infrastructure in the secondary education level would be well addressed. So I struggle to find a link between the ending of double track in 2027 and that facility.
And that was Dr. Party speaking there. Now, meanwhile, the Vision for Accelerated Sustainable Development Ghana, VAST Ghana, has welcomed government's decision to reform Ghana's excise tax regime, describing the measures announced in the 2026 media budget review as a major step towards improving public health and strengthening tax administration. The organization particularly praised the introduction of a hybrid excise tax system for alcoholic beverages, the retention of excise taxes on sugar-sweetened beverages, and the planned introduction of digital tax stamps to improve the tracking of accessible product. I speak to the Executive Director for VAST Ghana, Labram Musa. He's also the National Coordinator, Ghana Non-Communicable Diseases Alliance. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, VAST Ghana has welcomed the excise tax reforms, which was announced yesterday during the reading of the media budget. Which specific measures do you believe will have the greatest public health impacts, and why?
Right, so thank you very much for having me, and I'm greetings to your cherished listeners and viewers as well. So let me first and foremost thank the Minister of Finance for at least for ensuring that we have some reforms within the excise duty amendment, also within the media budget. In fact, we are grateful for that. We from civil society organizations, especially from public health perspective, our in around public health. So anything public health or anything that will advance or oppose public health, they are for it. So now to the question, indeed, we saw some reforms, especially with respect to Ghana moving from a pure ad valorem system to a hybrid system for alcoholic beverages, that's on wine, spirit, and then also beer. And we are happy because when this happens, at least we'll see a great impact in terms of reducing the consumption of these products, especially targeting poor and the vulnerable. And then also it serves as a sustainable revenue for government to support some of its interventions, especially around the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, which is going to support chronic non-communicable disease. And we know that many of these diseases come as a result of the use of these products. So we welcome that. The second one is the sugar-sweetened beverages. We didn't see much reform on the sugar-sweetened beverages, what we notice is that the government rather, removed the 20% tax on locally manufactured fruit juice. And for us, we think that is quite okay because fruit juice, sometimes we are encouraging. We are encouraging industry to shift from the fizzy drinks, carbonated drinks, energy drinks to a more healthier options like naturally produced fruit juice, which is also produced locally. Right? So, all in all, we think that it will advance public health. It will help government also get revenue. People reduce the amount of time they go to hospital to go and cure chronic conditions like NCDs.
Okay, so one of your concerns has also been the implementation. What should government do differently to ensure that these excise tax reforms are effectively enforced and actually improve public health outcomes?
Right, so what we think, the government should do is ensure that, this on paper, we are hoping that we will see a lot of, public awareness creation first and foremost, and then also see proper enforcement. And one of the ways that enforcement can be upheld is through the tax stamp. Currently, Ghana is implementing paper tax stamp, and that's also a subject to manipulation. It treats out eventually. So we are getting indication, even in the media budget, that Ghana government is going to strengthen the digital, tax system. So we are hoping that government will move from the paper stamp to a digital one, which is more, effective. You can track the product from the production level, to the last consumer. It also helps the government to also get revenue. So people will not be able to manipulate the system by either faking the paper tax stamp. And because this is going to be electronic, it will be embodied on the product and not necessarily having to buy the paper stamp and go and put them on the product.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Labram. Labram Musa, he's also the National Coordinator, Ghana Non-Communicable Disease Alliance, and also the Executive Director for VAS Ghana. Now, let's move to the Asante region. Tension is mounting at the Ejisu Municipal Assembly as Assembly members push to pass a vote of no confidence in Municipal Chief Executive Jerryne Asante. Proceedings have, however, been delayed amid a heavy security presence at the Assembly, with the doors to the Assembly Hall locked, preventing members from meeting. The Assembly members accuse the MCA of poor administration, including the alleged failure to enforce a court order to demolish a building said to have encroached on a road at Echakrom. They also allege the diversion of Assembly funds. Ibrahim Abubakar has been monitoring development and joins us with the latest. Hello, Ibrahim. What is the latest at the Assembly, and has the meeting even started yet?
So as we speak, the Assembly hall that the meeting is expected to even take place in is still under lock, and we can't find the key. We still have some of the Assembly members around. They just finished addressing the media, but the police presence is still high here. For now, they are just looking at alternative, maybe whether they'll find a new place to conduct the Assembly meeting. In fact, they also received a letter from the Regional Coordinating Council signed by the Regional Minister asking them to postpone the meeting. But they are saying he doesn't have that locus to ask them to postpone. It is only the presiding member who has that mandate to call for a meeting and also postpone a meeting. For that matter, they are looking at the next thing that they can do, whether they will find a new place to go ahead with the voting process or not. But as we speak, the Electoral Commission officials have also not arrived. We called them and they said they have also received a letter that the meeting has been postponed, so they cannot come and conduct the electoral process. So currently they are still, some of them are around. The police is also here, but the MC is not in the office, and still most of the offices within the municipality are under lock and key.
That's quite interesting. But what specific allegations are the Assembly members making against the MCA? And has she responded, and how did she respond?
Well, so like you mentioned, they are accused of diverting some funds meant for the Assembly. They are talking about 29,000 collected from a company as property rates and business operating permit. And it was diverted and used to acquire 32 packets of roofing sheets. So the committee asked her to refund that money. And as we speak, in fact, we also had confirmation from the NCA herself, Jerryne Asante, that she has refunded those monies. But then she didn't take the roofing packet for a personal property. She was using it to roof some schools that were facing some challenges. But because of the back and forth and the noise, she had to refund that 29,000 Ghana cedis for them. And they also accused her of failure to stop the use of lateral to fill a wetland around River Bafo along the Ejisu FHS road, and which they said is being carried out by a private investor. And it's being done without authorization. And anytime it rains, because of that filling, the entire place gets flooded. And they also accuse her of not demolishing a building that is sitting on a road, despite a court ruling on that matter. So these are some of the concerns, even though there are other concerns about her working relationship with the assembly members and even assembly officials, but that is on the other side. But these are some of the concerns they believe they are using as a ground to pass a vote of no confidence against her. They have about, including government appointees, 40 assembly members, and for that matter, if this vote of no confidence can stand, it means they will have to have 27 or 28 assembly members voting against her. But they said they will initiate that process of voting her out of office because they've done everything possible to bring her back on track, but she's still not heeding to the Assembly's laws and regulations. Okay,
Brian, thank you very much. We will now listen to what the Assembly members have been saying.
Already in Leclerc State High School, we have infrastructure deficit. What it means is that we are struggling with facility to house even the house staff and also student accommodation for classroom. So now that this has happened to us, I think it will be timeously, if indeed government or whoever wants to help, we are appealing to come to our aid, because now that we are expecting the first years to come, if nothing is done about it, it means we are not going to be able to house our students, also the house staff that were affected.
And those were Assembly members from Ejisu Municipality. Away from that, Ghana Medical Association says the Environmental Protection Agency's intended ban on styrofoam should be expanded to include single-use plastics to effectively address growing threat of plastic pollution and its impact on public health. Speaking at the association's 26th lecture in Koforidua, GMA President Professor Dr. Ernest York stressed that food packaging should not become a source of disease or worsen public health challenges. Let's listen to the GMA President.
The government decision through the Environmental Protection Agency to phase out styrofoam products therefore represent an important environmental and public health intervention. If implemented effectively, together with affordable and sustainable alternatives, improved waste collection, recycling, and public health education, stronger enforcement of environmental regulations, it has the potential to reduce plastic pollution and contribute to our clean environment.
Oh, the voice you just heard is the GMA President, Professor Dr. Ernest York. Now let's move to the northern region. Rather, on a sad note, a 12-year-old girl has been killed and dozens of residents displaced after a violent rainstorm ripped through parts of the Yendi Municipality in the northern region. The storm, which struck in the early hours of Wednesday, destroyed more than 40 houses, leaving many families homeless and forcing them to seek temporary shelter with relatives and friends. The victim, identified as Asana, died when the walls of her family's room collapsed after strong winds tore off the roof of their house. A number of injuries were also recorded. Beyond the loss of homes, the storm has also destroyed households belonging to farm produce and among others. We will take a listen to the director of NADMO in the municipality.
My name is Al-Hassan Abu Safian.
Okay.
I'm the acting director for Yendi Municipal NADMO office.
Okay. So tell me.
Unfortunately, around 3 a.m. this morning, that we had a very disastrous rainfall with a very strong wind that has, due to its effects, we've actually lost one of our sisters. And then another one is seriously injured and at the hospital right now, receiving treatment. And the number of houses that has been destroyed, currently we've not finished with our assessment yet, but we've noticed that about 30 plus houses so far has been affected. And some houses, there's not even a single room left. The whole house, they are homeless. And it's quite unfortunate. Actually, I called our national director and informed him, our regional director as well, and then the municipal executive is aware of it. Due to the final activity at the Bewa Palace, he would have been here with us. But it's just that because of tomorrow being the Adwa, a lot of visitors are coming and he's receiving their
So those.
And that was NADMO director in the municipality, Al-Hassan Abu. Now let's do a last story. And before we go, the Asante Regional Executive Committee of the opposition NPP has described Wontumi's incarceration as selective justice and a plan to silence the opposition party. Addressing the media on Thursday, acting chairman of the NPP in the Asante region, Patrick Echampon, urged members of the party to remain calm as leadership of the party continues to seek remedies.
Since the assumption of office by the current NDC administration, several former government officials and appointees associated with the NDC who are facing criminal investigations or prosecutions have had their cases discontinued by the Attorney General, often on grounds of public interest of legal review. Yet, at the same time, former officials and members of New Patriotic Party continue to face rigorous prosecution. This situation raises legitimate questions about consistency, fairness, and equal treatment under the law. A trial in which the lawyer abandoned cause because of the perceived bias of the presiding judge by whom to make answer. Refusal by the judge to refer constitutional matters raised to the Supreme Court as demanded by lawyers of Chairman Wuntu. Clearly, in such circumstances, the verdict should not be surprising to anybody. If the fight against illegal mining is genuine and non-partisan, then all persons and companies found culpable, irrespective of their political affiliations, should be investigated and prosecuted in accordance with the law. Justice must be fair, balanced, and applied equally to all citizens.
And that was the acting chairman of the NPP in the Ashanti region, Patrick Echampon. And that's how we'll bring you, that's the end of the Midday News Bulletin here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Deborah Baminsa. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Bank of Ghana withdraws 9.25 billion cedis through 14-day bills as it maintains tight grip on liquidity despite lower inflation and easing monetary policy. Also, Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry lauds government commitment towards payment of executed contracts in mid-year budget review. Meanwhile, the chamber discredits claims by minority in parliament over abandoned project sites due to non-payments. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories lined up for you. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. And the Bank of Ghana has mopped up 9.25 billion cedis from the banking system through the sale of 14-day central bank bills, underscoring its cautious approach to liquidity management despite declining inflation and a lower policy rate. The latest auction signals the central bank's determination to safeguard macroeconomic stability by preventing excess liquidity from fueling inflationary and exchange rate pressures. This report has the details.
Conducted on July 22 under Tender 871 attracted bid rates between 10.4 and 10.4578% with a weighted average interest rate of 10.4969%. Unlike treasury bills issued to finance government spending, Bank of Ghana bills are used to absorb excess liquidity from the banking system and guide short-term interest rates. The sizable mop-up indicates that the central bank remains cautious even as inflation has eased and the monetary policy rate has been reduced to 14%. Analysts say the move is aimed at preventing surplus liquidity from triggering renewed inflation and adding pressure on the cedi. While the operation strengthens monetary stability, it also highlights the challenge of balancing liquidity control with the need to expand credit to businesses and support economic recovery. The 14-day tenor gives the central bank flexibility to respond quickly to changing market conditions while keeping short-term liquidity firmly under control.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. We'll bring you some more stories now, and the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry has welcomed the government's commitment to clearing debt owed to its members as outlined in the mid-year budget review. The Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atofo-Singh, during his presentation said significant payments have been made to contractors across the country working on various government projects. Speaking to 3 Business, the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Emmanuel Cherry, called on the government to ensure the prompt payment of outstanding balances to prevent accumulation of interest.
So in the actual budget, you realize that with the road fund sector, there is a substantial amount of money provision being made in there. So far, he said he had disbursed 1.7 billion. So that is a plus for now because we are in the mid of the year. So therefore, 1.7 billion out of 3 billion plus is not bad anyway. So which means that we are anticipating that before the year comes to an end, we may be able to exhaust the 3 billion, which can pay a substantial amount of money. But the fear is the further it delays, the higher the portfolios goes because interest on delayed payment keep accruing. So that is where the fear is. So in as much as we are hoping that that 3 billion will be exhausted, we must also not lose sight that automatically the debt portfolio will be increasing because debt upon the interest upon interest on delay payment will definitely arise at the end of the day. So they should hurry and make sure that the portfolio is being cleared as a matter of urgency.
Meanwhile, Mr. Cherry also rejected claims by the minority in Parliament that contractors have abandoned project sites because of non-payment. He further dismissed claims that contractors have been underpaid under the government's Big Push infrastructure program.
The original budget, how much provision was made for Big Push? Last year, it was 10 billion. This year is 30 billion. Put the two together, is 40 billion. It's in the budget. Out of that, the certificate which has been raised, that is what the minister is, reporting on, that this payment which has been made so far. So that tells you that any time at all certificate comes, there is 40 billion waiting for us. So now 6 billion has been taken out of 40 billion. We are left with 34 billion for us to spend. So therefore, government is giving us the comfort that indeed money is set aside for that particular project in the budget. So in fact, they should speak to the issues sincerely. They should put politics aside and speak to the realities of the ground. If not so, at times they may be thinking that they are trying to help us, but they'll end up bending their fingers, because some of us, we are too much advanced to a extent that we cannot see that for certain things, certain facts or truth to be twisted.
So that was Emmanuel Cherry. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Construction Industry. And now the government is back on the domestic market this week, seeking to raise 9.492 billion cedis across all three tenors following the presentation of the 2026 Midday budget review. Today's borrowing covers the 91-day, 182-day and 364-day Treasury bills. This report has the details.
Market watchers say the amount reflects government's continued reliance on short-term domestic financing to manage cash flow and roll over maturing obligations. The auction comes at a time when investor appetite for government paper has remained strong. The Treasury has recorded 4 consecutive oversubscription in previous weeks, and officials will now be hoping to secure a 5th straight oversubscription. Analysts attribute the sustained demand to relative high yields and improved investor confidence following the mid-year budget review, which outlined government's fiscal consolidation plans. The Finance Ministry has not signaled any change in its borrowing strategy, maintaining its focus on domestic resource as it works to stabilize the economy and reduce external pressures. Results of the auction will give a clear indication of market sentiment heading into the second half of the year.
Well, on that note, that's how we end today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.